Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, I want to show you just a miscellaneous collection of new quotes that I found that are all here on my common misconceptions about the second coming spreadsheet. So we'll get into that in just a second. A quick update on the Flood the Earth challenge. There's been a couple new baptisms, so now we're up to 12. So this is just simply amazing. Since there were two of those, of course, there were missionaries. The person didn't report the missionaries first, they just reported the whole thing all together. So an increase of two, which is spectacular. And just everyone keep it up. You know, again, it's not it's not a competition. I rarely ever go to the other part of the spreadsheet where it shows everybody's numbers. It's just a way to incentivize people to share the Book of Mormon when they may not have. And so, you know, I think it's a good thing. I'm doing it myself. So, anyway, 5,290 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared, and then 511 people that have participated in this channel. Just imagine how much bigger these numbers could be. And it's not about numbers. You know what I'm talking about. Think about how much more of Israel could be gathered if there were more people gathering Israel in this challenge. So I would invite you to join and then let me know. It helps to give incentive to others and helps them to share the Book of Mormon. Okay, so back here. So why do I have this spreadsheet, common misconceptions? Well, okay. First of all, I want everyone to understand. I know that it's difficult putting everything together. There's a lot that's been said about the second coming. There's lots of different doctrines, and you have to search through the scriptures. That's what you do first. And then you should also be listening to general conference talks and church literature and so on and so forth. But it's a lot of stuff. Okay. Now, like I've said before, we now today have some pretty powerful tools to easily search all these things: the scriptures, general conference, the journal of discourses, the Joseph Smith papers, the scriptural teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith, which was a book compiled by Joseph Fielding Smith of different things that Joseph Smith said. It's all just like scattered all over the place. The most important thing about the second coming is just to simply be prepared for it and to be watching. Really, that's all it comes down to. All the rest of this is good. It's good to know. It helps us know what to expect and things like that. But what ends up happening is there's people that I'm sure with very good intentions, they will go to the scriptures, interpret it in their own way, put together books, put together presentations based on their understanding of the scriptures, right? And that's something that I try not to do here. I try to include both scriptures as well as the words of the prophets, put it all together, and not treat scripture like it's something that I can interpret for the entire church. When it comes to prophecies that deal with the entire world and with the entire church. So, so I have all these, right? So let's go to the first one. The first one is under the category or the misconception that the entire church still has to be gathered to the New Jerusalem in Jackson County, Missouri. So this is maybe the most important entry that I've found so far for this particular misconception, because this is from Joseph Smith himself. It's from the Journal of Discourses, Volume 6, page 239, column B. And this is what he says. He says, there will be here and there a stake for the gathering of the saints. Okay, this runs contrary to the idea that he was thinking of like everybody entering the city of Zion, the New Jerusalem, the center place in Jackson County, Missouri. No, he says, there will be here and there a stake for the gathering of the saints. Some may have cried peace, but the saints and the world will have little peace from henceforth. Let this not hinder us from going to the stakes, right? Not just to New Jerusalem or to church headquarters, but the stakes. For God has told us to flee, not dallying, or we shall be scattered, one here and another there. There your children shall be blessed, and you in the midst of friends, where you may be blessed. The gospel net the gospel net gatherers of every kind. Okay. I prophesy that man, I prophesy that that man who tarries after he has an opportunity of going will be afflicted by the devil. Wars are at hand, we must not delay, but are not required to sacrifice. We ought to have the building up of Zion as our greatest object. When wars come, we shall have to flee to Zion. The cry is to make haste. The Revelation says, uh, ye shall not have time to have gone over the earth until these things come, from Matthew 10:23. It will come as did the cholera, war, fires, and earthquakes, one pestilence after another, until the Ancient of Days, which is Adam, come. Then judgment will be given to the saints. Whatever you may hear about me or Kirtland, take no notice of it, for if it be a place of refuge, the devil will use his greatest efforts to trap the saints. You must make yourselves acquainted with those men who, like Daniel, pray 3 times a day to the house of the Lord. Look to the prophecy and receive, look to the presidency and receive instruction. And that's definitely what we should be doing today. Listen to what, specifically President Nelson, but all of them are telling us to do. Okay, every man who is afraid, covetous, etc., will be taken in a snare. The time is soon coming when no man will have any peace but in Zion and her stakes. Okay, he mentions this a few times here. He talks about the need to flee to Zion, but but Joseph Smith himself is talking about Zion and her stakes, and her stakes are all over the world at this point. Okay, so that's from Joseph Smith himself. I don't know how much more clear it can get, but still, this myth, this interpretation just persists that everybody is going to go to Independence, Missouri, and that just is not the case. Okay, so let me turn that cell white now that we've covered it. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Here it is. This is under the misconception that the signs of the times will be very obvious. This is from Joseph Fielding Smith, at the time counselor in the first presidency. I tried to find out what counselor he was, whether it was first or second, but I think there was a weird time when I don't know. I have to look up the story, but it just says counselor in the first presidency. So I don't know if something weird was going on at that time. This is from General Conference, April 1966. Okay, the signs of the times will be very obvious. That's a misconception. The words of the prophets are rapidly being fulfilled, but it is done on such natural principles that most of us fail to see it. Most of us, he's talking to the church. Joel promised that the Lord would pour out his spirit upon all flesh. The sons and daughters should prophesy, old men should dream dreams, and young men should see visions. Yet the old world goes on about its business, paying very little heed to all the Lord has said, and to all the signs and indications that have been given. Men harden their hearts and say that Christ delayeth his coming until the end of the earth. And I don't need to tell you, but this is happening all the time. It happens all the time. It happens in our wards. It happens with our friends and family that are members of the church. That they just think, they're just caught up in the world. They're not thinking about these deeper things. To them, it seems in some cases this isn't even a reality, that there's going to be a second coming. They don't really believe it. Anyway, continuing, they are eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, according to the customs of the world, not of God, without one thought that the end of wickedness is near. Pleasure and the love of the world have captured the hearts of the people. There is no time for such people to worship the Lord or give heed to his warnings. So it will continue until the day of destruction is upon them. So again, if you have this idea that things are just going to be super obvious and whatever, it's not. And he's talking to the church. It's not going to be super obvious. A lot of things have happened, just like he said, in a natural way. I would argue, now this is my speculation, but I would argue that the BYU Jerusalem Center, the reason why it was so important is because it's going to become a temple in Jerusalem. And we know, now this is a fact, that the Independence LDS Visitor Center in Independence, Missouri was built to be part of the 24 temple complex. But it happened in a natural way. I didn't even know about it until I started this channel. And there's probably going to be a lot of other people that are shocked when they find out that we have a temple in waiting in Independence, Missouri. But there it is. We heard of President President Hinckley say that this scripture that Joseph Fielding Smith just quoted from in Joel 2, verses 28 to 32, Gordon B. Hinckley said, just 1 month after that big thing happened in 2001, he said that scripture was fulfilled, of the sun being dark, the moon being turned to blood, pillars of smoke, and stuff like that. It happened in a natural way, in a way that I don't think any of us really expected. And yet, here we had the president of the church, prophet, President Hinckley, telling us that had been fulfilled. Who would have known? Unless you have the eyes to see, or you're listening to the prophets and the apostles and general authorities. Okay, continuing. At no time in the history of the world has it been more necessary for the children of men to repent. We boast of our advanced civilization, of the great knowledge and the wisdom with which we are possessed. But in and through it all, the love of God is forgotten. The Lord, as well as Elijah, gave us warning, as did also Joseph Smith. The Lord said, for behold, verily, verily, I say unto you, the time is soon at hand that I shall come in a cloud with power and great glory. And it shall be a great day at the time of my coming, for all nations shall tremble. But before the great day shall come, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon be turned into blood, and the stars shall refuse their shining, and some shall fall, and great destruction await the wicked. All right. So it's not going to be obvious. It's not. This is now 3 different quotes that I have so far. I'm sure there's many more, but we have it from George Q. Cannon, that was in the first presidency, Joseph Fielding Smith, who became president of the church, and then Hugh B. Brown, first counselor in the first presidency, all telling us that the signs are not going to be obvious, that you have to have the eyes to see, the ears to hear. It's not going to be these big, just irrefutable signs. Okay, let's go here. Okay, this one has to do with the center place, meaning the actual city of New Jerusalem, not New Jerusalem in the sense of North and South America, not New Jerusalem in the sense of the entire church, New Jerusalem in the sense of the center place, the actual city in Independence, Missouri. There are some that contend that it's not, that's no longer the plan, which it doesn't make sense because, again, we built the visitor center in Independence, Missouri. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, let me just show you on the map. Okay, LDS Visitor Center, Independence, Missouri, right there. Go to my playlist called the Independence Visitor Center. I've done many, many videos about this because this is huge. It's this building right here. This is the land right here that the church owns. Here we have a stake center. Over here is the visitor center. Across the street from the Community of Christ Temple, and catty corner from the Church of Christ Temple lot that owns the temple lot for what would have been the first temple in the 24 temple complex. Anyway, so if it was going to be in Salt Lake City, why was this built to become part of the 24 temple complex as originally revealed to Joseph Smith, down to the dimensions? And we've already covered that on the channel. Why? Okay, so going back here, okay, I have just millions and millions and millions of quotes. There's been a lot said about this, including currently on the church website under gospel topics. It talks about which will be built in Jackson County, Missouri. You go to the gospel principles manual. This is the one that they teach to new members of the church, or at least they used to. This is 2011. Will be built in the state of Missouri in the United States. President Nelson, back when he was Sunday school general president. He talked about it, Jackson County, Missouri. So this is a well-known thing. There's been a lot said about it, and here's the latest. Okay, so this is from Doctrines of Salvation, Joseph Fielding Smith. And there's this little fact right here. Okay, Garden of Eden and city Zion, same place. You remember that the Garden of Eden is there? That kind of like nails it down, doesn't it? The fact that the Garden of Eden is there, we know that it is, and of course that's where we're going to have the New Jerusalem. Okay, he says, in accord with the revelations given to the prophet Joseph Smith, we teach that the Garden of Eden was on the American continent, located where the city Zion, or the New Jerusalem, will be built. Take note that at this time, Salt Lake City is already established. And Joseph Fielding Smith is talking about a future city that's going to be built. And specifically, there in Jackson County, Missouri. Okay. When Adam and Eve were driven out of the garden, they eventually dwelt in a place called Adam-on-Diamond, situated in what is now Davies, or sorry, I've been corrected. It is Davies. Someone put it in my mind a long time ago that it's supposed to be Davies, but it's not. It's Davies. That's how they pronounce it there. Situated in what is now Davies County, Missouri. 3 years before the death of Adam, he called the righteous of his posterity at this place and blessed them. And it is at this place where Adam or Michael will sit, as we read in the 7th chapter of Daniel. Okay, so this is how it goes. Right here in the Kansas City area, specifically centered on Independence, Missouri, this is where the Garden of Eden was. And then Davies County, let me go back to this. Davies County is up here. Let's see, I think Adam-on-Diamond is by Jamesport, isn't it? Oh no, Jameson. Yeah, here it is. Spring Hill, Adam-on-Diamond. Okay, so what happened was Adam and Eve were down here in the Garden of Eden, and then they were cast out, and they came up here to what is now modern day, an area close to Jameson, Missouri, or Gallatin, Pattonsburg, this area right here, and this is where they dwelt. Okay, so New Jerusalem, it only makes sense that the New Jerusalem in the future world headquarters, one of the two world headquarters, would be where the Garden of Eden was, rather than in Salt Lake City. Okay. Anyway, if you missed all these other quotes, you can access them on my spreadsheet. The link is in the description below. Just go there and go to this tab right here called Quotes, Common Misconceptions. Or you can also go to my playlist about New Jerusalem, or the Independence Visitor Center, and there's a whole plethora of information. But as you can see, there's been a lot said that Independence, Missouri is going to be the center place where New Jerusalem is built. Okay, so we took care of that one. Okay, let me see, I think I just have one more that I'm going to do as part of this video. Okay, so we got, excuse me. This is the misconception that we shouldn't watch for signs of the second coming. We should focus only on the here and now. That's something that doesn't come up too much from you guys, but occasionally there's somebody from outside the LDS Second Coming watching community, just what some people would call a normie, those people that are asleep in the church. They'll stumble across the channel and be like, you know what, this is all just like too much, like all that will take care of itself. All we need to do is focus on the here and now and da 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 da. They're right in the sense that the most important thing is that we should work on ourselves, make sure that we're living righteously, making sure that we're on the covenant path, doing what we need to do. However, that is not the only thing that we should be doing right here. Now, these quotes, most of them are actually from the scriptures themselves. Joseph Smith, Matthew, Luke, 1 Thessalonians, Revelation, 2 from D&C. And now, today, I have the first one from the Journal of Discourses, and it's from Joseph Smith himself. Look what he says about watching for the signs of the times, that we are supposed to do that. He says, I testify of these things, and that the coming of the Son of Man is nigh, even at your doors. If our souls and our bodies are not looking forth for the coming of the Son of Man, and after we are dead, if we are not looking forth, we shall be among those who are calling for the rocks to fall upon us. Yikes. And that makes sense. We've had conversations before. Why is it that some of these people, they're not looking forward to the second coming? Why are they ignoring the signs of the times? Why are they not watching for the signs of the times? Well, we can't judge. We cannot judge, right? Individually. But I think we can say there's probably some reasons for some people, one of which is for some people, they have a good thing going on in this material fallen world and they want it to continue, so they don't like to think about it coming to an end. Um, we don't know exactly what things are going to be like in the millennium, but one thing that's generally known is that we're going to have the law of consecration, so that could interrupt some people's plans as they're just acquiring wealth and material things. Secondly, some people may deep down inside realize that they're not prepared in one way or another. And that's just natural to feel. It's like, you know, uh, life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And some people may feel that they're just too far behind. They're not going to be able to catch up in time. And so they don't like to think about it. Um, anyway, there's probably like a whole host of reasons. But, this is one thing that Joseph Smith said, that if we're not looking, then he says we shall be among those who are calling for the rocks to fall upon us. Because I think that if you take the church seriously, if you take prophecy seriously, the scriptures, the prophets, if you take it all seriously, then you will be looking forward to the second coming because you know that it's going to be a great thing for those that are righteous, right? On the flip side, if you're not looking forward for it, like I said, either you yourself are not prepared or you are spiritually asleep. You're not in tune. You're not doing what you should. Now, that's not to say, again, everyone is at different levels. Some people are new to the church, some people progress at different rates. It's one thing to be continually progressing in the right direction, right? And you just haven't gotten to that point yet where you're like really looking for the signs. But it's another thing if you've stagnated, okay, of your own accord, you've stagnated and you're like, oh, okay, I read the scriptures, and then you just become one of those Sunday attending members of the church. But it's just actions. It's not, you're not thinking about the reality of this life, the reality of the second coming, the reality of prophecies. So, anyway, so there you have it. It's said time and time and time again in the scriptures. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth. D&C, and they shall look for me. And then they shall look for me, and behold, I will come, and they shall see me in the clouds of heaven, clothed with power and great glory, with all the holy angels. And he that watches not for me shall be cut off. So no, we shouldn't just focus on the here and the now. We need to do that and be looking to the future. We have to do both. We have to do both. I'm probably going to cut it off there. I have some more. I added two more misconceptions that I'll probably cover in a future video, or you can just go to the spreadsheet right now and you can read through these. But the first new misconception is the great and abominable church only refers to wicked people and those that love Satan, but not other churches or religions. Okay. There was a person that had commented and they were like, well, the great and abominable church, it's okay, like it's not other religions, it's just the people, the individuals that hate Satan or that love Satan, but not the actual organizations. And that is not true. It's actually reverse. It's the people, the good people that are deceived that are okay. It's the organization itself that's corrupt and part of the great and abominable church. And we're trying to seek those people that have been deceived, seek those people that don't know where to find truth. Anyway, and then the other one is I should try and privately interpret scriptures having to do with the second coming. That's okay, stop. I know that some of you did not hear that right. You're thinking, oh, what? I shouldn't read the scriptures? You're telling me that I shouldn't read the scriptures and think? No, that's not what I'm saying. We should read the scriptures, okay? But what we should not do is when it comes to prophecy that affects the entire world and the entire church, that's not your lane, and it's not my lane. You can receive personal revelation. You can receive witness of the Spirit, about the truth of the scriptures and stuff like that. But when it comes to interpreting prophecy that has to do with the entire church, that's in the prophet's runway. In fact, I included Dale G. Renlund's talk about the different runways. There's one for the prophet because he's over the church and he interprets things for the church, doctrine, commandments, revelations, so on and so forth. And there's too many people right now that only look at scriptures and then put together whatever, timelines or complicated ideas that are held together by their personal interpretation, and they wow people because it's really exciting sometimes or whatever, the way that they interpret things. But it's not for us to do that. And that's why we have to look at what authorized servants of the Lord have said about the scriptures and how they interpret prophecy. That's not in our runway. That's why I'm working so hard to see what they've said. And the best way that I know how is to do things like this, do spreadsheets and collect all these different scriptures, both scriptures and what the prophets and apostles and general authorities have said. And that's how you get the best idea of what's actually happening in the church. Rather than reading the scriptures and then treating it like it's like a guessing game, like you're supposed to guess the best answer. That's not what it is. The Lord will give the interpretation to prophecies to the prophets. That's how it works. And if there's something that's been said and there's no interpretation, then you leave it alone for the time being. And I have a quote that says that. In fact, I think it was from Joseph Smith himself. So, is it okay to speculate? Yeah. It's fine to think about things, play out different scenarios. Is it okay to teach your speculation as absolute truth? No. You're not in a position of authority to do that. So, anyway, okay, so that's it. So those are my new additions to the Common Misconceptions spreadsheet, and that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.